Hey, Rich, how you doing?
Good, Len. We've got another MSP Accelerator quick hit session here with sponsored by our friends from Afire. And I know we've got the audience joining us today to supercharge their MSP growth. And you're going to talk about how they can build a profitable service catalog strategy. And that's something you know a lot about. I know we were talking about this type of stuff out at PAX 8 Beyond. I've got no voice. I know we were really learning some stuff and talking about some really
That was
cool.
over a week ago, and your voice isn't back. That was a great show. PAX 8, Rob Ray and the team put on. That's a great show.
Yeah, it was great to see, what MSPs are doing out there. And I know that I saw them, that you connecting with a lot of them. So Len, take it away as, you really have a great session for people that they're going to learn a lot right now.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Rich. And Rich is with Akulian Creative. As you look at my slides, my website, I work really close with Rich and team to put my stuff together, as well as help my clients get their website and all their marketing together. So thanks for Rich and his man Noah getting us here today. I am Len DiCostanzo, CEO here at MSP Toolkit, and I am going to share my MSP Accelerator quick hit session, Supercharge your MSP growth with a profitable service catalog strategy. We're sponsored today by Afire, building a SaaS management platform for MSPs. And I'm always one to say, you need to continuously improve your service offerings, continually improve your solution stack to meet your evolving and changing client needs. And I do hope to kind of get that across today. It's one thing to organize what you're doing right now in service delivery. It's another to continuously improve and continue to drive solutions and expand your business inside your client. So let's get rolling. Real quick, just so you know, I've been an MSP. I've been in your shoes, a solution provider actually. I like to call myself technology solution provider. And I've coached and collaborated with thousands of MSPs throughout my career. I spent a couple of years with Kaseya on the vendor side as well, building out the global MSP community with Autotask, where I work with Rich. Spent a year at Datto after our merger. So basically have been working with MSPs forever, and I've been one. So I am now actually consulting with vendors, helping them go to market with MSPs. So a lot of what I'm sharing with you today, I actually share with vendors so they can help you prepare to add their solutions in your service catalog. And I'm actually right now co-founder at Afire, where we're building that SaaS management platform for MSPs. And this session is session 1 of my MSP Accelerator program, which is 5 3-hour consulting sessions. And it's session 1 of 5. And you could actually visit my website for session 2, pricing and bundling profitable services to maximize revenue, which really kind of follows along with this session. So you could always reach out to me if you want to learn a little bit more about these programs. So today I have a goal of sharing insights on building and expanding and continually improving your service catalog, a profitable service catalog aligned with the needs of your clients and the capabilities of your business. So let's get rolling. What I'm going to cover today: first, best practices and standards you can use to build and manage your service catalog. I'm going to give you some best practices today, but I certainly throughout my career, I've always followed certain best practices, and I'll share that with you and why they benefit you. We'll talk about what is a service catalog and why is it key to your success. We'll run through some methodologies to get you to define the services you deliver now, you're going to deliver in the future, and how to get started quickly. And then we'll walk through defining perhaps your current infrastructure services, as most MSPs have started there. Then we'll look at AI and SaaS management, professional and managed services as well. And then we'll talk about how to expand your catalog with strategic vendor partners. And I do think that's real important as you grow your business. And we'll leave you with some next step actions you can take. Feel free to pop questions into the question box. We'll try to answer them along the way. We'll certainly try to take some time at the end, and if not, I'll follow up with some answers to your questions. So let's actually, before we get started, I would like to actually launch a poll and get some activity here. We've got a bunch of attendees and haven't really asked you all yet, but if you want to type in where you're from, go for it. But right now, I want to understand a little bit about where you are. Like, which of the following best describes your organization's approach to service catalog management? give me a little feedback so we can kind of, I can kind of craft as I go, kind of the content, tailor it more to your needs. So, you don't have a service catalog yet. Perhaps you maybe just have some proposals that you redo, customize, and change as you kind of go out to new clients. Maybe you're planning to build a formal service catalog, and that's why you're here. Perhaps you have a basic catalog, but it's really not widely used or updated. And in fact, it might be old. Maybe you maintain a catalog, and that's great, but perhaps you're not self-service or automating it, making it easy for your clients to access. But maybe you have a mature service catalog, and you're just here to kind of validate where you are. I appreciate you folks answering. I see them coming in. So let's, I believe having a service catalog is very basic. I wrote my own quoting tool back in the day just because I knew how important it was to have a structured service catalog and to produce pretty standard quotes and deliver pretty standard services. So fantastic. We've got mostly everybody voting. So I'm going to close the poll, and let's share that poll and kind of see the results. And 25% of you don't have a service catalog. 50% have a basic catalog, but you got some work to do on it, and 25% maintain a catalog, but no self-service access and automation. So no, and what's nice is, well, I guess it's not nice, but a mature service catalog, we have 0%, but we're going to try to get you there. Very good. So thanks for that. So now that I kind of know where you are, let's maybe talk about some best practices and standards you can use to build and manage your service catalog. It'll kind of help you get to that level of maturity. And I think one of the nice things about building a service catalog, everyone today wants to improve operational maturity. And to me, this is, I don't want to call it the first step. It's one of the key steps as you mature your business, because it just shows you're process oriented, and you're kind of structuring yourself for success. And that's going to be key. So first off, I think by now most MSPs know they need to take a best practices approach. Everybody, there were 3,500 people out at the PAX8 conference. Every conference I go to now is, kind of packed, much like a plane when you fly to those conferences. And really, you need to consistently integrate and mature your business with these best practice frameworks that are out there. And it helps you not only avoid the speed bumps in the road, but reduce your time to return on investment. I think one of the more frustrating things is to get engaged and try to do something and get frustrated as you're kind of getting stonewalled and you're hitting the wall and you don't know what to do. And the beautiful thing about best practices and best practice frameworks is people have done a lot of what we're trying to do here, and you can go figure it out and find out what they've done to be successful. One of the key best practice frameworks you should all be following out there is Information Technology Service Management, or ITSM. I've been talking about this topic for a while as well, and it's really that master plan. And I used to talk about it in terms of transitioning from break fix to managed services. Now I tend to talk about it in terms of moving not only from managed services, but to really a comprehensive service offering where your people processing technology are really focused on improving your business process in your business and service delivery to deliver the best outcomes for your client. And we used to use a term when I was at Autotask for a decade with our platform. We used to talk about service intelligence. And that was primarily because we captured so much data and reported on it. But I think today, service intelligence is going to come out of an ITSM approach, because now you can combine all that data you've collected with AI and really evaluate your ITSM approach and how successful you are. And we're talking about a service catalog today, service catalog management, and ITSM really, kind of governs that whole approach. And you need to follow some best practice frameworks to implement ITSM. I always talk about ITIL, Information Technology Infrastructure Library. It's the basis for this session and many of the sessions that I deliver. And ITIL 4 has 34 management practices in 3 broad categories. And one of those categories is service management, a service management practice. And that's where service catalog management fits. So we're going to talk through ITIL best practice framework as we work through our service catalog session. And really the next best practice is just collaborating with your peers. Many of them have gone through what you're going through. If not, maybe you've gone and you're going to share, learn what's working, what's not, and even learn what's next. And you collaborate with peers in peer group sessions that are out there. You go to conferences. So keep on working with your peers. We're in a very unique industry. The MS community is unique in the fact that we all help each other to rise the boat in that same water everybody's rowing in. So follow a best practices approach. And when you talk about ITIL, I mentioned it's kind of key in building your service catalog. And at the end of the day, you have to build services that there's a demand for or an opportunity to deliver. So you're typically going to be out there, knowing what your clients need, and maybe they need to drive leads, maybe they need to accelerate growth, and you have to understand the type of solutions you need to bring in to deliver that outcome and the value that they're looking to achieve. And I think the ITIL service value system helps you get there, because it really is about understanding the client needs and wants, and then creating that service or solution, or going and find that service and solution that delivers the outcome and value to your clients. And the service value chain is kind of key as we talk through building a service, because again, you have to have demand, you engage with your clients, understand what they need, then you want to kind of design that solution and maybe obtain and build the components around it and those products and services that make that service or solution work for your clients. So again, I think looking at ITIL will be very key, and you don't have to be an expert at it. You certainly can get certified in it. I've been certified in it, and it helps you, but certainly there's enough content out there that you can actually just learn about it and apply it in your business. So take a look at ITIL as you build your service catalog. So what is a service catalog, and why is it key to your success? We are building a catalog, so let's kind of understand why. And ITIL defines that service catalog as a centralized database of accurate information about active IT service offerings, and it's a subset of an IT service provider's service portfolio. I have a nice graphic on that in a second to help you understand it, but really it's the place where you keep all your services. I think the key here is you don't want to do services the first time all the time. You don't want to do services that aren't documented, because when you deliver those type of services, things can go awry and they could look different each time. So that service catalog becomes the single source of accurate information on everything you offer as an MSP to your clients and your users, and how you support them. It's also going to be present in a client portal where users can go to request your products and services based on the information you present, which is again based on their needs. So very kind of educational description of what a service catalog is. But if you just envision a spreadsheet to start yourself out and start listing all the things that you do over and over and all the things you've done, that's a great start, and ultimately perhaps having a quoting tool to make that happen. So why do you want to build a service catalog? We know what it is. Why do you want to do it? Well, we talked about ITSM and a best practices approach, and it really sets the stage to align with your client needs and wants, because that's what service delivery is all about. Does your client need it? Why would you build a service if your clients don't need it? And you have clients, you've been in their business. Maybe several of them need a UCaaS solution. Why aren't you delivering it yourself or through somebody else? So it really sets the stage for you to understand where your gaps are based on what your client needs are, and kind of get you going. And as you build your service catalog and define your services, we're going to kind of detail out the type of information that goes in your service catalog, but defining service levels, your SLAs, is going to be real important to not only meeting but exceeding client expectations, improving client satisfaction, and certainly providing self-service is going to be key to meeting those expectations, because everybody expects service to be available right now, and I think that portal approach really helps. I think the other thing that's real important, a top reason, is your team knows what you offer. They understand you have a repeatable service catalog, and you're not always doing a custom solution. And I think sometimes we all try to go deliver what our clients need right now. But if you haven't done it before, it's definitely going to take longer than if you've done it, right? It's plain to see. And it's not like you're ever going to avoid that happening, because you're going to help your clients. But perhaps what you just did for the first time, maybe you realize you got to do it again and again. And now you start to add this new service, because if one client needs it, perhaps another one needs it. But bottom line is, you build a service catalog to show your repeatable services. And we're going to touch on that throughout the session. You're also going to improve your resource allocation. You're going to know the type of resource you need to deliver a specific service. You're going to know how long it typically takes, and you're really going to kind of understand, am I successful now? What did I do wrong? How do I improve it? And certainly improving resource allocation is important as you try to be quicker in your service delivery, as you try to hit your SLAs. And probably the most fundamental thing I can kind of attest to from my own experience, understanding your costs gives you a chance to plan where your revenue and profits come from. And as you define your service catalog, one of the key components in your catalog, we'll touch on it today, but you can go watch my pricing webinar for detail. But understanding how long a service takes to deliver, the type of resource and what that resource costs, and how many times you're actually going to deliver that service is going to really be important, not only as you build a proposal now, but as you kind of forecast your revenue going forward. So now that we know why we want to build it and how important that service catalog is, what makes up your service catalog? And I always talk about two key service catalog components, one of them being products, one of them being services. Now, one of the more kind of enlightening conversations I have is a lot of MSPs don't want to sell hardware, and I get that, right? I never liked to sell hardware, but I realized if I didn't drag hardware along with my services in a solution, and I let my client go buy stuff from another provider, that provider might in fact do what I do. So I think the key here is try to include products, which are things you buy from other folks, whether it's hardware, whether it's software or SaaS. Those products are not yours. They're not different than when other people sell them. What makes your products different is your services. Your services allow you to differentiate yourself from resellers or vendors who sell direct, or competition who just resells a product. It's all about your people, process, and technologies required to enable users to achieve that business outcome. And that's where your service delivers that outcome clients want to achieve without ownership of the cost and risks themselves. Your client wants to do their business, whether it's make buttons or stools. They don't want to worry about technology, and that's really key, and the reason why you exist. They want to run their business, and they need your support to be their IT provider. So combining those products and services into bundles, whether it's a project bundle, a managed service bundle, you're going to bundle them together to deliver value and outcomes that your clients want. And I always kind of share, why let your clients buy products or services elsewhere? Think of yourself as a technology manager as you move forward. And even if you don't have the service or solution your client needs, you're probably best suited to go find a partner and help you deliver it and manage them to deliver it. And you can still expand your catalog by partnering, as opposed to having to build it yourself or do it yourself for the first time. So consider products as being important in your business. Your team can get good working on products. We're going to touch on how you can kind of wrap services around product a little bit more throughout the session. But the key is, you don't resell hardware, you don't resell product. You're actually wrapping your services around it and delivering an outcome your client wants. So now let's kind of dig in a little deeper, and here are some of the service catalog item details you want to start to track. Certainly, SKU or stock keeping unit, or item number, whatever you want to call it. Every service, just like a product, should have a SKU. Maybe you want to put them in a service group, a category, and begin to kind of put these services where they belong. Are they a core managed service? Does it fit in your backup category? Where does it fit in your catalog? What's that light description or your service catalog item summary that perhaps you show in a catalog or on a proposal. Have a more detailed description. And again, I think what I'm trying to show here too is I always like to know if I had a sales one-pager for a particular service. If you're building a service, build a one-pager, or maybe a one-pager that has multiple services on it, so that you can show your clients what the service actually is, what kind of outcome it delivers for them, and how it maybe has helped other businesses. So you can add any kind of fields of data you want to capture in your service catalog, in addition to what you typically need to have in your catalog, like, where is it in the service catalog lifecycle status? We'll touch on that in a second. Is it active? I mean, your service catalog should act like a sales pipeline. You got new services coming in, you're figuring out, trying to work it through. Will you add it? Will you close it, and the like? So, again, some key fields. Maybe, as I mentioned, where does the service come from? Is it coming from you internally? Is it from a vendor? Is it maybe from a partner out there? Who is the primary vendor on the particular solution? And ultimately, you want to start to track how long it takes to deliver that service, and start to include that as well. And again, if you take a service catalog like this, add it into your quoting tool, now that you have your costs in there, you pretty much have most everything you need tied to a service. And really just a summary here of at least 10, looks like about 15 or 20 kind of key columns you want to have captured in your service catalog. I think service owner is key. Who's the person really accountable and responsible to make sure that that service is built and delivered properly? The service name, description, features, benefits, maybe in that one pager. Maybe there's a supporting service or arrangement. Maybe you have an operational level agreement, like an SLA you have with your client, supported by an OLA with a third-party vendor in there. Key policies, how to request it, how to order it, and of course your service cost and sell. Your SLAs, like if you just think of your most basic service desk offering, that's where you start to understand an SLA. But when it comes to setting up a workstation or a laptop or a virtual desktop for your client, what is the SLA? How much lead time do you need to order it? How long does it take to roll it out? So very key, again, to have a clear understanding of these details around your service defined in your service catalog. So I talked about service portfolio a second ago, and really service portfolio manager, you might consider that like an umbrella over your service catalog. So typically your service portfolio is all your products and services and select vendor and distributor product and services that come into a services pipeline, as maybe, once you've kind of organized what you're doing right now, maybe around infrastructure, maybe you now want to start delivering an AI solution, maybe SaaS management, and you got to go look at how do you deliver a SaaS management offering around a SaaS management platform, perhaps like our sponsor, Fire. So you want to build a pipeline of services and start to develop them, and we'll touch on that a little bit more later as well. And then ultimately, when those services are ready to go, you have a business service catalog, which is what your clients see. Like, they don't want to see all the, it's kind of like that duck with, furiously, moving underwater with the feet, try to swim, but they're really calm on top. You want to have a service catalog, a business version of that catalog available to clients, and then the tech service catalog showing your internal team what to do to actually standardize and deliver that service properly. That's where your service catalog actually fits in service portfolio management. And then ultimately, you want to have retired services. Perhaps no one's buying that service anymore. Maybe it's been replaced or it's old and you now have a new service. So you want to have services come on into your portfolio, build them out, start using them, presenting them, delivering them, and then ultimately retire them as you kind of come back in and maybe find a replacement and fill it back up. And ultimately, these services should be made visible to your clients in a portal, and it should kind of speak to them in their language, right? It shouldn't say T47 laptop. It should say set up new administrative user with new setup, or whatever it may be. You kind of want to understand what your clients might call it and then put it like that on your portal. And ultimately, in your statement of work, your proposal, your recommendations, you kind of list those services out. Maybe that's where you can put a little bit of the technical services in an addendum or an attachment, but have a nice statement of work that kind of organizes and structures your standard solution that should also be available on your portal. Now, if you think of your portal, you might have, certain services on that portal, but some of those services might actually be part of a project as well. And the service catalog doesn't really stand alone. It actually feeds many in-house systems, pulls from them, and kind of should work in tandem. Obviously, we mentioned a quoting tool or CPQ, configure price quote, where maybe your catalog connects to suppliers, pulls down products, services into your catalog, combined with your services, and you're ultimately presenting them. Maybe your quoting tool has a portal that you can build from, and there's certainly several applications out there that help you do it. I've been seeing a lot of vendors now out there. I think one of the keys for MSPs these days is your contract. Maybe you have a master service agreement that kind of governs everything you do, but maybe as you're proposing different services, they have different terms, different SLAs externally facing, maybe an OLA internally facing. So imagine in your service catalog, you have a column called contract terms. And when you print out your proposal, the contract comes out along with it. So service catalog, real important, and could ultimately make it really simple for you to build out your contracts. Billing, if you put in your costs and your sell price, gonna go into your billing system. Projects, I tended to look at my service catalog as tasks in my project. Tickets, service requests, right? Two different views of your portal. Maybe there are services like set up a desktop, set up a user, and then maybe there's a service request or an incident request form that they fill out as well, again, defined in your service catalog. So the service catalog doesn't stand alone. Think about it, how it integrates across your business and other systems that you're using. So maybe we take a second now, maybe a minute, and let's see, because I talked a little bit about hardware, and I just want to get a sense of how your organization handles hardware procurement for clients. Do you include it as part of your offering? Do you recommend it but have them purchase it elsewhere? Do you have both options, right? Sell it to them and let them buy them third party. It's up to them. You avoid involvement in hardware, or you're still looking at the best approach. And I think this will kind of help inform the audience of what folks are doing out there. I know for me, I fought hardware mightily, and I used to partner with someone to deliver my hardware, but ultimately that hardware provider started delivering service and ultimately became a competitor of mine. And that's what drove me to include hardware. And really, I never sold hardware. I didn't consider myself a reseller because my product was dragged along with my services in a solution to deliver an outcome. And if they wanted to buy it elsewhere, they could, obviously, but my services cost more because I had more overhead to deal with someone else's product, perhaps having to go on site to do a lot of work I might have had to been able to do inside my office. And I see that a lot with providers today. So I get one more vote and I've hit my magic number that I like to achieve. So maybe come on back and give me an answer, and I got it. So let's close this poll and let's kind of share and see what folks are doing out there. So 50% include hardware, that's great. 25% offer both options, and 25% are avoiding involvement in hardware. So, I think that's a good split, and that's kind of what I see when I'm out there chatting with partners and clients. I think, again, it's real important to think hard about where your clients go for things that they don't get from you, and that really is what leaves the door open for the competition. So thanks for that answer. Now that kind of gets us into how to align your service catalog with what I like to call the 4 critical stages to securing a client for life. And for me, it always starts with a consultative sales approach. I often talk about, kind of charging for this assessment, and be careful with the word audit. I think I see audit a lot. I would just use assessment, and I would typically charge for my assessments. and I wouldn't credit it back if they went with me, because it takes work to do a real solid proposal. I leaned more towards letting my prospects know that I, in fact, was going to produce an RFP for them. And if they wanted to, they can go look and shop around. At least I was rewarded and paid for my service, because they're perhaps going to shop around anyway. But the first stage, first critical stage, do a great job, consultative selling. And ultimately, if you do a great job assessing the needs and wants and digging deep, you make those great recommendations, they're not going to look elsewhere. And not only did you make money on assessment, now you win the project and the one-time revenue opportunity that you're going to earn from delivering that project on time and on budget. And I have often talked about managed service bundles, but the reality is a project is a bundle of your service as well. It just happens to be perhaps a bundle of a la carte services that could be delivered individually, or maybe it's just really a bundle of multiple services put together in a project. So, and I think the key here is, if you just deliver one type of a solution, perhaps infrastructure to support business operations, you now have to get new clients to do that with. But if you expand your service offerings, you can implement solutions inside your client base as you grow your business. So I think the key here is, continually grow your project offerings, your practices. We'll touch on that in a second. And that's really the second critical stage. And to advance to this third critical stage, you have to deliver that project on time and on budget. Otherwise, you're not going to get that opportunity to deliver your bolted on managed services that really differentiate your business out there in the landscape. Recurring revenue is what's going to drive value if you're looking perhaps to either acquire or be acquired. Having recurring revenue gives your business some strength and certainly makes you more attractive, whether it's your core managed services to keep that business up and running, the services you define, the managed services you define, or if you're delivering an AI solution or a SaaS management solution, maybe those are premium managed services from a different offering you're bringing in there. And now you're starting not only to build your business around multiple practices, infrastructure, cybersecurity, AI, SaaS management, but you create managed services that you bolt on and kind of stay in that third critical stage, kind of hopefully forever, as you ascend into that business technology department role for your SMB clients, maybe some of your mid-market clients, or you co-manage and supplement internal IT. And I think this is kind of where you now settle in by doing monthly operational reviews or more meetings, I like to call them, where you tell them what you did last month, what you're going to do this month, and try to find a little bit more business. That's what I call a more meeting, or QBRs, which everybody knows and talks about. And it's difficult to get this meeting time with your clients, but find the time to make sure they know who you are and that you can actually help them grow their business and help them start looking at the next thing they need, right? You're towards the end of the year and we're getting close. We're about mid-year. You should start to identify some gaps in your client tech infrastructure, solution infrastructure. What do they need to better drive their business? Because you're going to want to keep that client for life, right? These to me are the four critical stages to keeping your client for life. And ultimately in this particular stage, that's when you start to plan next year's budget and stay inside your client. Not only is it their budget for next year, it's your sales plan and your forecast. So adhere to these four critical stages, stay with your client for life is the goal. And really apply these four critical stages to support what I like to call the client success journey. So I kind of touched on building your business around practices, and here you kind of see most MSPs starting with infrastructure. It's definitely where I actually didn't start there. I started writing software, and then I needed infrastructure to support it. But most MSPs these days came from infrastructure world, and maybe in your business service catalog you might talk about your network infrastructure solution or business infrastructure. And then there's a whole bunch of services and solutions, and you want to execute that fee-based assessment to propose that solution and earn one-time project revenue. And I've been around long enough to know it used to be where your business ended. You delivered a project and then you kind of hope for things to break. I'm sure you all heard about the break fix model, and that's really where it started, right? There was no managed service offering until MSP was born, right? And we figured out managed services with our RMM, with our ticketing system. I was over at Autotask for a decade or more. Kaseya, everybody has an RMM and a service desk is now a typical standard to be an MSP. You've got your BCDR solutions, and really every project you have, you should be bolting on managed services. Cybersecurity, obviously, much different now than, and it's evolving, but you need a project to deploy cyber. What's your managed services? What's your ongoing recurring services you're going to build on top of your cybersecurity practice? All the talk about AI. I mean, really, I hear, obviously AI is the biggest topic out there. It was a big topic out at PAX 8. It was a big topic at Channel Partners out in Vegas. And I'm doing an AI workshop in September at MSP Summit. And it's a big topic. How do you implement AI and monetize AI as a project? And what are those managed services? And head to MSP Summit, jump into my workshop. And if you're looking for a discount code to get there, kind of put it in a question or a comment, and I'll help you get there for a lower cost. And certainly AI is big. You want to expand into AI, whether it's around Copilot, whatever solution. I wish I had RPA, robotic process automation here, but basically AI and automating service delivery now is so important to staying competitive. And of course, our sponsor, Afire, building a SaaS management platform. I think a lot of MSPs have lost control of their client SaaS ecosystems. And if you're not really building a SaaS management practice, you should really look at a platform like Afire. You can let me know again in the chat or in the question box. But it's key to now regain control of your SaaS environment, client SaaS ecosystems, and deliver SaaS management services like subscription and license management, security, and adoption. So again, just continue to expand your offerings. I can tell you, if you just think about an MSSP, you don't have to deliver all these services yourself. You can partner, right? And we'll touch on that in a second. But what you notice here is I just kind of popped up, this little SaaS resale. And I think what I see happening now with MSPs is if they're delivering SaaS, reselling SaaS at a recurring revenue, they kind of think, hey, I'm an MSP. Maybe new folks coming into market, hey, I resell SaaS. Well, the bottom line is if you're just reselling SaaS, you're a reseller. What you really need to focus on, and I often kind of go, what does MSP mean to you? It's a term we all use on MSP Toolkit, but the reality is build a managed service practice. To me, that's MSP, managed service practice. Bolt on managed services onto your projects to continually monitor and maintain them, and build your services on top of the SaaS you're reselling. And if you think about your RMM, you don't necessarily sell your RMM. Your RMM is what made you an MSP, and you build services on top of it. You need to take that same approach as you're reselling SaaS. Do not be just a reseller of SaaS. Kind of touched on, kind of trying to not let your clients buy solutions elsewhere. Just want to, we touched on outsourcing and partnering, but you can certainly build and staff your AI practice, your SaaS management, your cyber practice. But if you think about cyber, that's why MSSPs exist. MSPs don't want to take that step and make that investment in really delivering a whole roster of security services. So you partner with an MSSP who focuses on that. But while they're delivering that service, maybe you're going to learn about that service. And instead of you having to build your practice from scratch and hit all the speed bumps, outsource to a strategic vendor like an MSSP, learn how they do it, see how they do it, and partner with them because it's a quicker go to market, right? If you're not in cybersecurity, you partner with an MSP, you can expand your offer quickly, fill that cyber gap that you have, and solve client challenges right now. And use it as a bridge to build in your own practice where, you're building your own practice. You got to hire folks, you got to retain them, you got to train, you got to certify, and you got to kind of continue to deliver that solution and get that muscle memory of, how to actually not only build that solution, but make it do what it has to do. There's definitely more risk as you build your practice, but you can mitigate that risk by partnering with a third party, become that technology manager. I always like to talk about my experience working with a construction manager. I had a vertical focus on construction as a solution provider. And I learned actually from one of my clients who was a construction manager who never built a 72-story building on their own. They basically managed other providers to build that 72-story building, from the excavator, HVAC, drywall, concrete, whatever went into building a building, they construction managed it. That was their job. So, and they delivered the service they were good at. So ultimately realize you can be a technology manager, manage third parties in your client, and be that interface between your client and that third party and make it happen, and ultimately learn how to do it. And perhaps you can, from being a project manager, start to staff your own service delivery capabilities. So as you prepare to build your catalog, you really want to look in your own organization, identify some of the key stakeholders, not only internally, perhaps, but talk to your clients. They know what they need, or maybe they don't, but they can tell you what their business problems are, which allow you to kind of start to craft your services in your catalog. Start with your team, not only defining the stakeholders, but what does everyone do? Another best practice you can follow, RACI, responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. I'll give you a slide on that in a second, but ultimately those stakeholders are who's going to be responsible for not only building your catalog, but really making it happen. And make sure you communicate internally, small organization or large. Make sure folks know you're going through this exercise as you kind of organize your services. Maybe you've added something new. Make sure you're communicating it externally to your clients, and maybe perhaps publicly via social media. Kind of really promote the services that you're building, and really launch it out into your company. Make sure that people know what they have to do and what you're doing, and really just get started. Define that project charter, regular touch points with the team, and really just get going, because you have to, at this point, just get started going. And I mentioned RACI, and you definitely want to have some of the key activities around defining a service catalog and the different stakeholder roles, and who's accountable to make it happen, who's responsible to make sure it's working, right? I think that it's real important to make sure folks know who's working on it, and who actually owns it, and who needs to make it successful, who needs to be informed, who are you going to consult to make sure you're building the right service. So follow a little bit of a RACI model. I mean, I don't get crazy with my best practices, but I certainly like to use frameworks and keep myself following what other folks are doing. It really does help. So now you just got to really get started building that catalog. You've got your stakeholders, and now you're going to go to work, right? Understanding not only your client needs, what are your current offerings? What have you been delivering? What's on your proposals that you're putting out there? Hopefully you're putting out proposals. You're probably defining services in your proposal. Start to put together your services. Where do you partner? Does your vendor partner have a catalog that you need to bring into your catalog, right? And start to put those products and services into your catalog, and understand the cost and what you're going to sell it for. Which ones are going to be bundled up together? What are your service level agreements, and the kind of metrics you're going to use to define, right? SLA certainly being one of them. What's your response time, resolution time, and the like? What's your lead time? How long does it take to actually get it rolled out? So those metrics are really key as you're defining your service catalog. And you really don't stop there, right? You have to actually have sales and marketing enablement internally. I talked about one pages for those services, right? What are you going to do to drive leads if you've already sold certain services in your client, but you realize you have gaps and some clients don't have everything you have? How are you going to drive some leads? What kind of playbooks do you have for your sales team? What kind of email nurture, digital campaigns are you going to execute to drive awareness? And ultimately, get those leads in, use your service catalog and your quoting tool to actually drive sales in your organization so that you can execute those services and deliver the outcomes, right? And remember, you're not installing a CRM, you're not implementing their network, you're not implementing a marketing solution, you're driving leads, you're accelerating sales, you're reducing costs, you're mitigating risk. Like, what is the outcome your client is looking for? And usually it's running their business better and generating more revenue, right? So now that you've gotten started, you built your catalog, really provide easy access to your services. Maybe certain services you're going to make visible in your own storefront, in your own marketplace. And certainly there are vendors out there helping you make it easy to build a storefront. Maybe you're going to have a service desk with a portal where your users are going to request service. I know certainly in my days at Autotask, that's very important, was having a client portal, requesting service from your service delivery team, and it's certainly as needed as ever. But make it easy to access your services. Don't keep it behind the curtain, and then ultimately measure service delivery and continually improve your offerings by tracking those metrics that you laid out as you build your catalog, and certainly taking survey feedback. Many tools today, ticketing systems, send out a survey right after you complete a service. You can send out a survey, get that feedback, react to it, make sure your clients and users know you really care if you did a good job. All right, we're getting close to the end here, but I'm going to ask another question for you here. And let's see if we can't get some engagement, because I do like to know, how do you currently present proposals and quotes for services to your clients? Are you using a quoting tool, right, integrated with your service catalog? Are you manually creating proposals using documents or spreadsheets that maybe you just kind of repeat over and over? Maybe you use a quoting tool, but it's not integrated with your catalog. Maybe you're just kind of relying on verbal or informal discussions. You put them down on a paper and go. And maybe you're starting to explore tools now. And if you're actually using a quoting tool, maybe in the question box you can just share which quoting tool you're using. Are they full service? Do they have a client portal? Do they allow you to add your own services and also bring in distributor products? I'd really love to know what some of you guys are doing out there in terms of a quoting tool, because again, I wrote my own because there weren't any. Now there's quite a few out there that you can use, and it's definitely the best way to do it. All right, I'm going to close the poll. Get your answer in right now if you want to be included. Let's close the poll and let's kind of see how we did. 22% use a quoting tool integrated with your service catalog. A third of you manually create proposals using documents. Another third use a quoting tool, but not with your service catalog. I think your quoting tool, actually, you can certainly consider that your service catalog. I think the key is that they let you add additional custom fields that you can start to track information that they have not built into their quoting tool. And if they don't give you that capability, ask them to build it. Otherwise, now you kind of have to have two separate documents to maintain. And 11% are relying on verbal and informal discussions. And I think that's really important here is if you have a defined service catalog, you have a quoting tool, you can make some template quotes, do them over and over again, like the folks manually creating proposals from what you've already done. But having a quoting platform with a built-in client portal, metrics, measurement, tracking, and of course now AI and automation built in, that's really where you want to get to. And we're going to definitely have some sessions on that moving forward. And always feel free to kind of type in the question box what kind of sessions you'd like to see going forward. I love to bring some really relevant topics to everyone out there. So now let's kind of get close to wrapping up here. And most of us, again, we started out on the infrastructure side. So I just want to kind of share. You see here, set up a standard desktop. Maybe a mobile user with a laptop. Maybe you need to set up a sales rep laptop with CRM. And again, these are bundles of services, right, that combine hardware and software and SaaS perhaps, and your services. And you've done it, you do it, your client knows you do it, they hire someone, they call you, onboard a new user. Maybe you need an onboarding service. Look at that as an onboarding service. Onboard a new administrative user, and you know what that means. Get them the hardware, get them the software, set them up, give them some training, and then add your managed service bundle, increase it to support that user. So define your services, repeatable, both a la carte and professional services, because at the end of the day, your a la carte services that might be visible on your portal, you bundle them together, they are a project. Here you see, again, defining the time it takes to deliver it, calculating your hourly cost, what's the price at certain times, what are you selling it for? These are additional fields that I didn't kind of share before that you want to have in your service catalog. And again, I reveal more in the pricing session. Then ultimately, you can start to assess how many projects with these services are you going to deliver. Not that all your services are always in your project, but just using it as an example here, that you combine your a la carte and professional services into a project bundle to build and manage a complete service catalog. And again, providing easy access to your portal. On the managed services side, same thing, service group, category, what's your catalog item, item description, right? These are your managed services. And you don't necessarily deliver these by themselves. You're typically taking those managed services and bundling them. And, again, here you see some of those key fields we touched on earlier. Do you have a one-pager for your managed service? Are you delivering it? Are vendors delivering it? How long does it typically take for you to do it? And ultimately, you put your managed services in a bundle. Your client doesn't want to pick individual managed services. You don't want them to pick it. You want to define what your clients need in order for you to support them. And that's your managed service bundle, not the bronze, silver, gold of the old days. I used to talk about it like that as well. But the key, as I've learned, you know what your clients need to have in order for you to support them the best. The only thing that perhaps they don't need and you don't include might be your premium service. Maybe you're dropping in an AI solution and you have new AI managed services. Those might be considered an add-on. I don't know if I'd call them platinum. I think that you just call them a premium AI managed service. And I'm seeing here, somebody's asking if these templates are part of offerings or are they generally available. These templates are part of my offering, my MSP Accelerator program. Happy to work with anyone on that. Let me see if I have anything else I could answer quick. Yep, I think Biz Apps, my friend Scott May out there, one of the, I work with Scott over at Stratus Cloud Alliance, and they provide services for MSPs around Dynamics and certain Microsoft products, and they can help you build your practice. So, of course, Scott, I'll give you that mention. We had some good fun together. So, your infrastructure managed services and your bundles, and really it's all about automating your managed service delivery. Keep in mind, as you define your services, there are going to be tools and platforms you got to work with, your RMM, your RPA, your AI tools, your SaaS management platforms like a Fire. But it's really hard these days to deliver service without having the proper tools in place. And as you're defining new services, I mentioned SaaS management. You're going to need a SaaS management platform. That's why you've lost control. There weren't any. Now there are. We built Cloud Optimizer about 5 years ago. Now you've got a whole slew of tools out there. And now working with a Fire, we've got a great platform we're building to help you deliver SaaS management services. Discover all your clients' SaaS out there, because right now you don't know what they're using. They've increased your attack surface to manager and monitor. You need to know what SaaS your client is using. So start thinking about a SaaS management practice, right? What are the project a la carte services you can deliver, right? Your clients are signing up for SaaS, setting up multiple admin users. They are setting up integrations, perhaps with non-compliant solutions. Maybe the integrations aren't set up right. Maybe there's no onboarding and offboarding automated process. So you've got employees who no longer work with the company still able to log in to SaaS apps. So again, SaaS management is a practice you should be looking at. What kind of SaaS managed services can you deliver around security, license and adoption management, right? Maybe you're going to notice folks aren't logging in and using their licenses. Maybe you're going to see that those licenses be reallocated. Perhaps security, you're seeing settings change. So a lot of things you could do once you regain control of your client SaaS ecosystems with a solution like Afire. Of course, we're talking about AI. It's not a mystery, right? You've got to define services. You got to understand what you need to do to set your client up properly. Of course, starting with an assessment, data, and protecting that data before you deploy AI. You can't just roll out an AI solution. And again, I'm doing a workshop for a 3-hour workshop at MSP Summit, and we're going to kind of dig into this. And I did one last year and kind of continuing to evolve it, agentic AI, automation, so many things you need to do that fits in your wheelhouse on the technology infrastructure side in order to deliver AI services. And then don't forget, you got to continually monitor and manage those AI solutions with your AI managed services. So again, continue to expand your business, and you can do that with strategic vendor partners. Look at the gaps you have. You may want to expand, but you don't want to hire. Well, go find a strategic vendor partner after you've seen the gaps in your offering and make that decision to expand your catalog. Find vendors with solid partner programs who meet you where you are. I work with vendors now all the time, and one of the key things I say is, just tell an MSP to sell your solution. Make sure that they know what services to wrap around it. They understand your business, and they're giving you marketing collateral, sales collateral. They're telling you how long it takes to typically deploy their solution. Maybe they sell with you as you are rolling their solution out as part of an existing practice, or maybe just build a new practice, and they sell with you to help you learn, right? Because their goal is to get you self-sufficient, right? So you want to work with strategic vendors that really guide you along what I like to call a partner success journey. And they're not just there and looking at you as a sale. They want to look at you as a partner themselves, or an extension of their sales team, and treat you that way. And then those strategic vendors can serve as a bridge to building a new practice or expanding how it's done as they help you deploy those first set of solutions into your client base, because you identified a gap and an opportunity, and away you go, right? So let's kind of wrap up here, with right on time, how your service catalog steps up MRR. If you have an infrastructure solution, you're going to drop it in, bolt on your managed services. You're going to do another project and bolt on your managed services around cyber, SaaS management, AI. And as you can see here, you're now starting this upward climb. And that's the beauty about managed services, right? Every time you drop in a solution, you're adding more managed services, more recurring revenue into the mix, right? And as you continue, and depending on your size, are you doing one new project every other month? Are you doing a new project a month? Are you doing 5 a month? It really just depends on the size and who you're selling into, SMB, mid-market, large accounts. And ultimately, you get to that point where you've got a ton of recurring revenue. And maybe in the beginning, your project revenue is larger or bigger than your MRR, your monthly recurring revenue on managed services. But at the end of the day, you might flip from an 80-20 project revenue to managed service revenue to 20-80, with managed service revenue being the bulk of your revenue. And that's really where you want to be. So I'm going to ask one last polling question before we wrap up, because part of why I do these sessions is to generate interest. Working with the vendors that are my clients, working with me to help you mature your business. Are you interested perhaps in attending a more detailed workshop, perhaps in a one-on-one engagement, and perhaps you are interested in just attending my MSP Accelerator program, which I'm going to schedule out with Rich. Maybe you want to go one-on-one with me, and we can kind of work together and help you go. And maybe you're interested in both a workshop and one-on-one. So if you're interested, let me know. If you're a vendor out there, I'd love to help you build a program to kind of get out with MSPs and basically make your product kind of align with the content I've shared today. And ultimately, love to work with you guys. If not, you could certainly visit my website, lots of content on msptoolkit.com, and you can, have a blast watching all of the videos where we're starting to populate with there. So I'm going to leave you with some next step actions, kind of what we covered today. Become familiar with best practices and standards. Prepare your business by organizing your stakeholders and driving awareness of your service catalog effort, and get started quickly. Look at what you're doing now. Try to understand where your gaps are, and where you want to go next, who you want to partner with, and align with those 4 critical stages to securing your client for life. And always plan to continually improve your service catalog, not only the services you offer now by checking on your metrics, but expand with strategic vendors as well. And you can attend the pricing session. Again, it's available on my website, and hope you enjoy that. And I hope you enjoyed today's session, which again is session 1 in my MSP Accelerator program. You can watch the second session, pricing and bundling, like I said, on the website. A lot of the tools and templates I have are available here. And want to thank you for attending my quick hit session, Supercharge your MSP growth with a profitable service catalog strategy. And you could always visit msptoolkit.com to connect and just have a conversation if you want. Hey, Rich, you're back.
I just wanted to come back and say it sucked that organizers aren't allowed to vote in some of those polls, because being a services provider in a different world than the IT, there were some of those things that really resonated with me about stuff that we do in our own business and stuff that I've seen evolve since we've been doing this presentation for so many years. And that core stuff stays the same, but those new services, those new types of things just keep getting bolted on. So it's just as valuable today as it was back then. And
any business, Rich, right? I mean, every business has to have a catalog, right? If it's not sitting on a shelf and people could see it, you got to have something, right, to make visible. So let me see, Rich. I think I see, thanks for great information. Thank you so much. I don't know, we got a few people left. I don't typically send out my presentation, but you'll have the recording on it. A separate spreadsheet or listed in your quoting tool. That question is asked by someone who left, and I think I mentioned in there you can keep a separate spreadsheet, but having a quoting tool is important and should be part of your tool stack. And appreciate Mike, thanks. Wow, excellent info, many thanks, appreciate that. And somebody said they use Momentum and QuoteWorks. Eric, thanks for sharing that. So Rich, appreciate you coming on, everyone. It's 12:02, like to 2 minutes over, but I think we've been chatting. So again, thanks a lot, everybody. See you next time.